Dear colleagues, Ministry of Defense spokesperson Mr. Evgen Podgorny will speak on Russia's military aggression in eastern Ukraine. Mr. Podgorny, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you a weekly update on Russian aggression against Ukraine between February 6th and February 12th. The number of ceasefire violations committed by Russia-backed militants ranged between 59 on Saturday, February 11th, to 89 on Tuesday, February 7th. Now, to the overall situation of the front line over the past week. Luhansk sector. The enemy was active in the sector predominantly during the daytime and in the evenings. The hottest spot in the sector was Krymske, where militants from February 6th to February 9th regularly fired upon positions of the Ukrainian armed forces with mortars and howitzers of various calibers. Militants actively opened fire against Ukrainian positions in Troitske, Novozvanivka, and Novotoshkivske. The enemy occasionally violated the ceasefire in Stanitsa Luhanska and Popasna. Last week it was completely quiet in Zolote and Shastya. On February 6th, Ukrainian officers of the Joint Center for Control and Coordination came under enemy sniper fire while documenting enemy violations in Lobacheva. On Saturday, February 11th, militants did not fire a single shot at Ukrainian positions in the Luhansk sector. However, the next day, on February 12th, the enemy violated ceasefire once again using small arms against Ukrainian defenders in the Popasna district. Donetsk sector. The militants continued active shellings of Ukrainian armed forces near Avdiivka using wide range of weapons including tanks. However, by the end of the week, combat activity has significantly decreased. The pro-Russian forces fired from three directions: Spartak, Yakovlivka, and Yasinovata. Ukrainian positions south and east of Avdiivka, Butovka Mine, and Kruta Balka were occasionally fired upon by the militants. Another hot spot of the front line in the sector was the area near Svitlodarsk, namely Luhanske, Novoluhanske, and Mironivsky. On February 10th, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, Linas Linkevičius, paid an official visit to Avdiivka. There, he witnessed huge damage to infrastructure and residential areas caused by Russian proxies. These are the consequences of the so-called Ruski Mir, the idea spreading into formerly peaceful areas of eastern Ukraine. Mariupol sector. During the previous week, the enemy focused fire upon Ukrainian coastal positions stretching from Shirokine to Chermalik. The militants used heavy weapons in the sector predominantly during the daytime. At the end of the week, combat activity in the militants significantly decreased, similarly to other sectors. On February 10th, Russia-backed militants performed another barbaric violation of Minsk agreements using multiple launch rocket system Grad against Ukrainian positions near Krasnogorivka. The very same day, militants fired with howitzers and tanks against Ukrainian servicemen in the area. Over the week, Ukrainian troops registered 20 episodes of hostile drones conducting aerial reconnaissance in the ATO area. On February 8th, in the Mariupol sector, Ukrainian armed forces detected an unmanned aerial vehicle flying over the front line. Having established that the drone belonged neither to Ukrainian armed forces nor to international organizations in charge of monitoring the ceasefire, the Ukrainian military shot it down. Eventually, it was established that a similar type of drones is used by the Russian armed forces. Currently, the specialists are retrieving information from the device. Russia keeps supplying its proxies in eastern Ukraine. 7 railway echelons and 6 truck convoys arrived to the occupied by the militants areas in eastern Ukraine from Russia, delivering new supplies of ammunition and fuel. Some of the cargo has been identified. We're talking about 33 tanks of fuel, 6 artillery systems, 6 multiple launch rocket systems, 9 armored vehicles, as well as 11 railway cars loaded with ammunition, military hardware, and vehicles. Military intelligence reports that the number of confirmed casualties among Russian proxies is 9 killed and 17 wounded over the last week. Last week, 4 Ukrainian servicemen were wounded in action. It is worth noting that Ukrainian armed forces did not incur any casualties between February 7th until February 10th. Residential and industrial areas in the frontline villages and towns again came under enemy shelling. During the previous week, over 20 private houses in Avdiivka were damaged as a result of direct hits of shells fired by the militants. A residential building in Stanitsa Luhanska and a water pumping station in Toshkivka village of Popasna district were damaged by direct hits of enemy projectiles. On February 8th, a private home and a power station in Talakivka were damaged by the enemy mortar bombs. As a result of the incident, Talakivka as well as the neighboring Hnutove and Sartana were left without electric power. In addition, the village of Kurdyumivka in the Donetsk region was left without electricity for several days as a result of the damage to the electric power lines caused by the enemy shellings. Taking the opportunity of relative de-escalation of hostilities along the entire front line, in the previous week, Ukrainian engineers as well as the utility services worked hard fixing the damage. The hostile actions of the enemy bring new sufferings to civilians living in the frontline areas. On February 7th, in Kurdyumivka, Donetsk region, a teenager was killed in the enemy mortar attack. On February 9th, a civilian tripped over a booby trap on the road from Pavlopil to Chermolik. This was the first incident of the kind since the beginning of this year. Additionally, 2 Ukrainian citizens were wounded as a result of enemy shelling of Avdiivka residential area on February 9th. On February 8th, the leader of the so-called Somali battalion, the 36-year-old Mikhail Tolstych, also known as Givi, was killed in Makiivka. The incident took place in his office in the building which had been used as the battalion headquarters. Tolstych claimed that he was from Ilovaisk and served in the Ukrainian army from 1998 till the year of 2000. Tolstych joined the ranks of the militants in early stages of the conflict. Since spring of 2014, he took an active part in the fight against the Ukrainian troops and made a quick career. Russian state-run media and propaganda machine made Givi one of the iconic figures of the separatist movement in eastern Ukraine. However, in order to receive praise, he resorted to shedding blood of Ukrainian servicemen. His record includes shelling of residential districts, torture of Ukrainian military prisoners, abuse of civilians, looting, and other war crimes. Recently, the so-called Somali gang suffered heavy losses in reckless and absurd attacks against Ukrainian positions near Avdiivka. Thus, Mikhail Tolstych had many enemies and detractors who may have been interested in his death. That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Podgorny. Looking forward to seeing you here next Monday.